Entire case over.
So this provides a lot of certainty for Ripple, for frankly me personally, because the SEC had sued me. The SEC has abandoned their appeal, and so they filed suit in December of 2020. We won on the key parts of the case in the summer of 23. Judge Torres made a ruling.
Before Brad Garlinghouse get into it, welcome on into another episode of the Crypto Doe channel, and today we're talking about the Ripple CEO and the actual XRP case being dropped by the SEC. Before I get into this, the only thing I ask for you guys to do is smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, get me to 10,000 subs. That's all I ask. Purchase your crypto beginner guide. I'm going to pin it to the top of the chat, and let's get into today's show.
Ruling that XRP in and of itself was not a security. That's almost a verbatim quote. The SEC filed an appeal about 8 months ago. And what they've now agreed is that they're going to drop that appeal. We still have a cross appeal pending. And so we go from being defendant really to plaintiff. So we now are in the driver's seat to determine how we want to proceed.
Are you dropping it?
We're going to see. It feels a lot better to be on the offense than the defense. You know,
it feels a lot better to be on the opposite side of the gun. The SEC, of course, there was carrying. Now, Brad Garlinghouse, he gets to carry. The thing is, what are they going to do? Are they going to counter sue? Maybe sue the SEC? Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think.
4 years, we spent over $150 million defending that case, not just for Ripple, but for the whole industry. I think it was really important that this SEC, the Gensler SEC, was really trying to bully and continue lawfare, filing lawsuits against crypto companies. That's over now, and I think that's great for the U.S. crypto industry and, frankly, great for crypto at large.
I mean, to that end, if you're looking at a new SEC, why not drop the case at this point? Why not clear why not clear the water?
Well, that certainly is an option. I mean, again, it's clear the SEC has said, I think in retrospect, never would have brought this case. The judge did rule in certain instances back in 2015 and 2016, some XRP sales that we sold to accredited investors, to institutions, that those had constituted a security. And so there was a $125 million fine that's sitting in escrow. We wouldn't mind having that back. That's on the table. And I think there's some nuances to how this will play out. But it was important for us, for really the whole XRP community, for them to know that the case is over. For all intents and purposes, the case is over.
And that's good. And Gary Gensler, he's out as well. That's actually good. But it's funny if you actually do your crypto research, right? And I'm here to do the research for you guys. Gary Gensler actually was for crypto. He was actually a teacher. I forget what university, but some prestigious university. He taught about blockchain technology and crypto. He actually supported the XRP and the Bitcoin theory. But when I seen him on the chair of the SEC, I said, that's contradicting. Do he own crypto? Leave your thoughts down below. Let me know if y'all believe that he owns these things that he have so much animosity against. Or was he told to do these things? The fact that he stepped down, now he actually gets to invest in crypto, I think, and that could be beneficial to him. He knows what we don't know. Once again, he knows what we don't know. I know that he believes in XRP. I know that he believes in the blockchain and the hash graph and the different type of tokenization projects that crypto has to offer, or the assets or the different technology has to offer. I'm sure he believes in those things. He'd be a fool not to. He used to preach on the behalf of crypto, but for some reason, when he got into the chair position, all out the window. And that shows you how politics can be highly corrupted. But let's continue.
The SEC is no longer pursuing this.
But to that end, to your point here, the court decision had ordered you to pay a $125 million civil penalty for exactly what you're talking about. Is that $125 million paid? Is what you're saying that's still up for dispute?
Yeah. Well, it's not in dispute. I mean, that's sitting in an escrow, and depending upon whether or not we decide to continue with our appeal, we could walk away and the whole thing would be done. On the other hand, when you have a case where there were no investor harm, no investors lost any money, you're kind of like, wait, like, why are we here? And it really goes back to Gary Gensler fighting a fight that was about power grab. That was about overreach of the bureaucracy to try to take a new industry. That what we're seeing now happen in Washington is smart legislation will come forward. You're seeing that happen with stable coins in real time. I think you'll have a market structure bill is what it's described as to provide clarity and rules for the SEC and CFTC.
We will look at the bigger picture. Right. We're going to have you for a little while this morning, but do you think that part of this means fighting it till the very end to make sure even that part of uncertainty around being sold to certain investors classifies as a security? Is that what you are fighting for ultimately at this point?
Well, I mean, at this point, all we're fighting for is, do we want to fight to get the $125 million back? Look, I'll be honest. Would I have walked away from that before they appealed?
I think they have the right to. I believe that they have the right to, but I don't think that they will because, I mean, yes, money lost, but they have billions of dollars in escrow, billions in escrow.
Before President Trump put Paul Atkins and Scott Bessent and David Sachs as critical.
And sometimes there's no point of fighting if you already won. Sometimes there's no point of fighting if you already won.
Key, very smart leaders in this industry to bring this industry back on shore, I would have walked away. Now you look at that and you're like, this case in this SEC never would have been brought. And so where we find ourselves is great. There's a clear legal victory to say XRP is not a security. That was good for the industry. But there's pieces of it that we think could be kind of cleaned up. And the question is, do we want to fight that fight, or can we come to an agreement with the SEC to drop everything?
The whole idea that this wouldn't have been brought under this SEC, have you had that specific discussion with Paul Atkins and with David Sachs?
Well, Paul Atkins hasn't yet been confirmed. He's a very knowledgeable guy about this industry and has been for a long time. But I've had conversations. I won't comment on specifics with certainly, I think David Sachs would agree that this is a case that didn't make a lot of sense in the beginning. Again, there was no investor harm. This was about Gary Gensler waging a war against this industry. It's
interesting. I want to also point out that the affiliated token, of course, XRP has been up roughly 14%, now about 13% in the last 24 hours. One thing a lot of people had looked at, we're thinking a lot about.
To me, that was due to the case as well, but it was also due in a couple of days after, it was also due to the fact that the summit, the crypto summit, right? It was good news towards that, good sentiment towards that. But it was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. I believe that Bitcoin can still go down a bit more. I believe XRP could trail and go down as well a bit more before we actually take off. It was a buy the rumor, sell the news event.
How the administration is handling crypto assets, particularly outside of Bitcoin. Why do you think XRP wasn't specifically named in the executive order for the digital asset stockpile?
Well, so XRP was named by the president on Truth Social. He posted something saying that there should be other tokens, that there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve and then a crypto stockpile that would include things like XRP.
But days later, the executive order didn't include it. Why was that?
I don't know what.
Now, this can be a tricky question. This can be a tricky question because the stockpile order did say that, but now it's excluded in it or it's not in it. Leave your thoughts down below. Do you think that Trump is definitely for just Bitcoin, which is nothing wrong with being just for Bitcoin? But I think in this space, there's other things that actually make the space work tremendously. And XRP is a part of it, but it actually replaced the whole digital system, the whole dollar or the fiat system. Well, they wanted to replace the fiat system. So these are somewhat, not concerns, but it may be a red flag. What's their intentions with the stockpile? What's their intentions? How do they plan on getting money for the Bitcoin reserve without printing more money to put us more in debt? That's a tricky strategy that you must come up with, but only time will tell.
But specifically, it was in the executive order. My understanding is there's going to be a Bitcoin strategic reserve. There'll be a crypto stockpile representing other cryptos. And I would expect that will include XRP. Look, at the end of the day, I think the stark contrast is In the Biden administration, we couldn't get a meeting with people at the White House.
That's good.
Now we're welcomed into the White House. And that's just a massive change. I think we want this industry to thrive in the United States. We don't want to push it offshore where you have fewer regulations.
I think the reason I keep pushing you too is because I think now it's widely accepted that this is a pro-crypto administration. But the details, that is what's causing an overhang, the uncertainty of the details. So to the extent you have confidence, right, about XRP being in that stockpile or otherwise getting more support for an ETF, for example, where does that confidence come from and what kind of timeline do you see it happening on?
So I have immense confidence on the ETF. I think there's 11 different filings pending with the SEC to launch ETFs from everybody from Bitwise to Frank.
11. Last time I checked, it was about 16. There's about 16 different companies, and I believe one of the companies filed 3 different ETFs for it. Let's continue. You can go on my post, scroll down my post, and you can actually see how many different companies are filing for the XRP ETF, which means that trillions of dollars will be flowing inside of XRP ETFs and the ecosystem. And then you have BlackRock, Blackstone, Grayscale, all the money makers or the institutional investors. They will be all aboard.
Templeton and a whole bunch of people in between. I think those will be live in the second half of this year. We have seen even outside the United States, you have live ETPs. And at a time when a lot of outflows are exiting some of the crypto ETFs, you're seeing inflows into XRP. And I think that's because you had this false negative pressure from the SEC, this kind of, an exogenous hand holding things down that's now being released. And that's great for the market. That's great for builders within the XRP ecosystem globally.
One more on the stockpile.
Yeah.
How much XRP would be in it? Where does it come from?
Well, my understanding of what I read about I think there are some questions, and that the devil may be in the details as Treasury implements some of this.
Absolutely in the details.
But my understanding is that the stockpile will be represented by seized other cryptos other than Bitcoin that then will be in that stockpile. So to the extent that various law enforcement agencies have seized cryptos, which would include XRP, that those would go into the stockpile in addition to the Bitcoin strategic reserve. That's my understanding.
We have been talking here about a big moment for you and for your company, of course, a rollback really of the tensions that had been brewing with the SEC. And let's talk about the next phase. One thing I'm really wondering about now that there's more clarity for you is an IPO, frankly, in your future now. We talk so much about the potential.
The day that Ripples or XRP goes public, it's over with. It's over with, meaning that they will reign king. Now, Bitcoin is cool, don't get me wrong. It has a store of values. It may be worth millions in the near future, but as far as use case, XRP will do laps around Bitcoin.
For the XRP token to be wrapped in an ETF, that is a method of listing.
Right.
So is listing possible now for you for Ripple?
Well, it's certainly something that is possible. The United States SEC under Gensler was so hostile to this industry. I mean, ironically, they approved the S1 from Coinbase and then sued them for doing the things they said they were doing. So this SEC, fortunately, is going to be, I think, very constructive and positive for this industry. So I think that's available. I think the company's at a stage where we can consider that. That being said, it isn't a huge priority. I think most companies are going public. Raising capital is something that is high on their radar. We have been in a very fortunate position to be able to grow the business organically. We're also, frankly, more proactive in looking at acquisitions. This is an industry that finally is going to be able to thrive in the United States, the largest economy in the world. And I think the industry is still underestimating the shift from the headwinds to the tailwinds. That's going to make a bigger difference than people think. And finally, the U.S. market is really unlocked.
So it sounds like what you're saying, acquisitions are almost more of a priority now than an IPO for you. Mm-hmm. So then what would you be looking for to buy, and how big are you willing to go?
Well, I'm not going to name names, but look, Ripple at its core is a blockchain infrastructure company. We sell our technologies to business, primarily financial institutions, and we'll look at other things that are blockchain infrastructure companies. I think there will be consolidation this year. There's a lot of excitement about some of the changes, and we will lean into that for sure.
So when you think about what's possible in terms of financial institutions,
I'm gonna leave the video. I had a quick little call, but I'm gonna leave this video for you guys to check out. Let me know your thoughts on Brad Garlinghouse and the XRP lawsuit. Let me know your thoughts. This is Crypto Doe. Once again, put on your seatbelts. It is time to take off in 5, 4,